A couple of weeks ago on the channel, I posted a video talking about 5 Calder Trophy dark horses heading into next season, and now in today's video I'm going to talk about 7 dark horses for the Hart Trophy next season. And remember, these are dark horses, so when you don't see Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, and players like that in this video, that's because those are favorites, and that's a subject for another video. But these are some guys that I think maybe can fly under the radar and have a really strong season, and maybe if their team has a little bit of success as well, then they could easily have their name in contention for the Hart Trophy by season's end. So with all that being said, let's jump right into the video with the first player. Starting off the video with Sergei Bobrovsky, and he is a goaltender obviously, and I think anytime you have a goaltender in the Hart Trophy race, they must have had a very impressive season. There has only been 2 goalies to win the Hart Trophy in the 2000s, one being Jose Theodore in the 2001-2002 season, and then most recently Carey Price in the 2014-15 season. But Sergei Bobrovsky, you could argue that right now he is the best goaltender in the NHL, and that is what a lot of people will say. And this Florida team, what was the thing they needed to really get them over the hump? A little bit of help on the blue line, but most importantly, goaltending. And now that they have potentially the best goaltender in the NHL, in my opinion, this Florida team can honestly be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference next season. I love their forward core. I think they have a pretty solid blue line, and now obviously with Sergei Bobrovsky in net, I think anything is possible for them next season. And if Sergei Bobrovsky can put up a very good statistical season next year, I honestly think there is potential that he could be in contention for the Hart Trophy, because this Florida team has been searching for that person or that player to put them over the hump and into the playoffs for years now. And if that guy is Sergei Bobrovsky and he continues to be one of the better goaltenders in the NHL, then I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he is a candidate for the Hart Trophy come the end of next season. Next dark horse I have for the Hart Trophy is Phil Kessel, now obviously of the Arizona Coyotes, and a lot of people might be thinking, what? There's no way Phil Kessel can get his name in Hart Trophy contention by the end of next season. But Phil Kessel has had very solid offensive years the past 2 seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins. This past year, 82 points in 82 games, and the year prior, 92 points in 82 games. And obviously, playing with Pittsburgh, you're going to get a lot of points, on the power play, playing with Sidney Crosby and all the talented guys there. But now Phil Kessel is going to be the main offensive option for this Arizona Coyotes team, most likely. He's going to be playing first line minutes. He's probably going to be playing number 1 power play minutes, and I just think this is a very good situation for him. And this is a team that barely missed out on the playoffs, and if Phil Kessel can put them over the hump and get them into the playoffs and put up maybe like a 90 to 95 point season, there is a very strong chance that he could be a Hart Trophy nominee by season's end. He's going to be playing with some pretty talented players as well. It's not like he's the only guy here. You could have a potential first line of Derek Stepan and then Phil Kessel and Clayton Keller on the wing, or you could have Nick Schmaltz with Phil Kessel and Clayton Keller. I just think him playing with offensive guys like Clayton Keller, they can really just feed off of each other, and I honestly think Clayton Keller is a guy that could benefit most from this and really have a breakout season playing on a line with Phil Kessel and also put up a lot of points. This is a team that I'm very excited to watch next season, and now I'm kind of excited to see how Phil Kessel plays in terms of kind of a leadership role and being like the veteran guy on a team now. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, but in my opinion, Phil Kessel is a dark horse for the Hart Trophy next year. The next player I have is Tyler Seguin from the Dallas Stars, and this is one that maybe I'm a little bit less confident about than others, and that's no shot at Tyler Seguin. It's just he hasn't really shown that explosive scoring ability as some of the other players on this list. He's a 27-year-old centerman, has 585 career points in 672 games, 80 points this past season in 82 games, which was a very strong season for him. His career high in points is 84, which still comes from his first season with the Dallas Stars in 2013-2014, but Dallas is most likely going to be a very solid team in the Western Conference next year, and usually that's how it works. You have to be a playoff team if you want to be in contention for the Hart Trophy. Connor McDavid probably would have won it the past 2 seasons if the Oilers made the playoffs, but they didn't, so they couldn't really give him the MVP of the season or the most valuable player for that team. But Tyler Seguin is probably still the best player on this Dallas Stars team. They have Jamie Benn, and now they have guys like Joe Pavelski as well. I think this team is a lot deeper than they were this past season, and they have one of the top goaltenders in the league in net in Ben Bishop. They have young defensemen like Miro Heiskanen. They have John Klingberg as their number 1 guy on the blue line. I just really like the look of this team, and I think they can be very strong next season. And now with some of that pressure taken away from Tyler Seguin and his line, because you have some depth behind it now, I think that puts him in a position to maybe have a career year next season. And if Dallas is maybe like a top 4 seed in the entire Western Conference conference or a top 3 seed in their division. They're a strong team and they make the playoffs, and Tyler Seguin puts up like maybe 90 to 95 points, which isn't something he's done yet, but obviously, you know, playing with guys like Radulov and Ben, that is a possibility, and if that all happens, I think Tyler Seguin could get his name in contention for the Hart Trophy. Next up, we have Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers. Obviously just signed that massive contract to make him a member of the Rangers this free agency, and that is a win for the Rangers, and I think Artemi Panarin could do a really good job as the best player there, but it's not like he's the only guy there. There's still very good players, you know, with Capo Caco coming up. They still have guys like Buchnevich, Zibanejad. They also have Chris Kreider, whose name has been in trade talks, but I think he will probably still be a member of the Rangers next season, and I think there is a very strong possibility that Artemi Panarin can put up a lot of points. He had a career year this past season with 87 points, which you never know, maybe he comes down a little bit from that, but there is a good chance that he jumps that up and maybe can be a 90 plus point scorer. And this New York team, they got a lot better than last year, and I think they will be competing for a playoff spot next season. My prediction for them was that they finished 3rd in the Metro Division, and that's, you know, maybe kind of a bold prediction, but that division is wide open next season, and I think it's going to be a dogfight, and it definitely should be very, very entertaining to see what teams finish where. But if the New York Rangers do end up making the playoffs and Artemi Panarin continues to get better and puts up 90 plus points as the best player on this team, there is a strong possibility that he can get his name in contention for the Hart Trophy, because this is a team that have been rebuilding over the past 2 years, and then as soon as you bring in a guy like Panarin, if he leads you to the playoffs right away and puts up big numbers, he makes a very strong case for being the league's MVP, so that is why I have him as a dark horse for the Hart Trophy next year. The next player I have in this video is Mark Stone from the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a 27-year-old winger, and he had a career year this past season in terms of offensive numbers, with 73 points in 77 games split between the Senators and the Vegas Golden Knights. He was traded to Vegas at the trade deadline, signed that massive extension there, and he is most likely going to be the face of that franchise moving forward. He's my pick to be the captain, and he's more of an underrated player, not a player that people think about as, you know, one of the top tier guys in the league, but he is, even though he doesn't put up the biggest offensive numbers, he's one of the best defensive forwards in the entire NHL. You could make a case he's probably a favorite for the Selke Trophy next season. I know that award usually goes to centermen, but even though Stone is a winger, he is still one of the best two-way forwards in the entire league, and when you combine that with his ability to put up points as well, there is a strong case that he could be in contention for the Hart Trophy next season if this Vegas team is very good once again. His career high in points was this past season, but if he can get that up to maybe around 85 to 90 points, and I think he can, because he's going to be playing with some talented guys for a full season. We didn't really get to see what he's capable of fully yet with the Vegas Golden Knights, because, you know, it's hard after you're traded to really come in and just fit right away, but after a full training camp and now a full season with them next year, I think the sky's the limit for Mark Stone, and he definitely could surprise a lot of people next season, so that's why I have him as a Hart Trophy dark horse. Next up, we have Blake Wheeler from the Winnipeg Jets, and I'm honestly surprised that during the 2017-18 season, Blake Wheeler didn't get more recognition for the Hart Trophy. Winnipeg was one of the powerhouses of the league, and Blake Wheeler put up a 91-point season. He also put up 91 points this past season, but it makes sense that he wasn't really in contention, because Winnipeg had some other forwards that had a really good year, like Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and they weren't really that dominant team that they were in the 2017-18 season, and it's honestly going to be pretty difficult for them to get back to that, and that is why I have Blake Wheeler as a dark horse, because they lost a lot of guys in free agency, and that depth, and especially on the blue line, is going to be pretty tough to replace. But I think if you can have a bounce back year from guys like Nick Ehlers, Patrick Laine, and if Connor Hellebuck can get back to being a Vezina caliber goaltender, then this team could be one of the best teams in the NHL once again. And I think if Blake Wheeler can, you know, maybe up the point total a little bit, maybe crack 100 points for the first time in his career, which is possible playing with very good line mates, I think he really could be in contention for the Hart Trophy. In my opinion, he's one of the more underrated players in the entire NHL. I think he's one of the best captains in the entire NHL. I just am a big fan of Blake Wheeler, so that's why I have him on this list for dark horses. And now finishing out with the youngest player of everybody in this video, Sebastian Aho, a 21-year-old centerman for the Carolina Hurricanes, just had a career year over a point per game with 83 points in 82 games, and I think he is only getting better, and there is a strong possibility that he could be a 100-point scorer next year in my opinion. I know that may be overrating him a little bit, and I know a lot of people will say you can't put that much pressure on a guy who's only 21 years old, but I just think he's dealt with all that so well, and he's, taken on the challenge of being the face of Carolina's franchise and just done a fantastic job. He has 197 total points in 242 career games, and Carolina, they just finally broke through, made the playoffs, went on a very, very strong run in the playoffs, making the conference finals, and a lot of that was spearheaded by Sebastian Aho, and you could argue that this Carolina team will be better next season. Their young guys are now a year older. Andrei Svechnikov is going to most likely improve. They brought in guys like Eric Howla and Ryan Dzingel, who will both be nice additions to the top six, and I just think this is a very intriguing team next year, and I think things could go very well for them, or there is potential that they maybe even drop out of the playoffs just because of how wide open that Metro division is. But if Sebastian Aho leads them to the playoffs once again and can be up there around 95 to 100 points, which I think he can, I know a lot of people probably won't agree, but I think he can, then there is a strong possibility that at the age of 21 years old, he could be in contention for the Hart Trophy. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section if you want me to do this for any of the other NHL awards, like the Vezina Trophy, the Norris Trophy, or something like that, and let me know some of your Hart Trophy dark horses down in the comment section below. And with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.